Hey, what's up, guys? Figured I'd make a quick video on a mod that I did for these to help keep them cool. I got this idea from Ronald. You may recognize him. He comments on a lot of my videos. He's been a real big help to me throughout the years in modding these guns and trading ideas back and forth with. Really smart guy, so I really appreciate all your help, Ronald. Anyway, his idea was to keep these things cool, to give them a constant flow of water. And he sent me emails on how he did it with pictures. I can't dig them up. Well, I didn't bother to, sorry. But if you ask him about it in the comments, I'm sure he would tell you how he did it if he doesn't respond how he did it in this video. So I probably should have looked that up. It would have saved me some time, but here's how I did it. The idea is to connect it to a sink or a hose. And when you go try to do that, I'm guessing these fittings are metric, and it seems like every time I try to go to Lowe's to find a hose or pipe fitting that isn't for its intended use, I never can find it. So what ends up happening is I say, okay, well, I can use this fitting to come off of here, and then I can use this fitting to come off of here, and then I can use this fitting to come off of here, and then this one to come off of here, and this one to come off here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and it just goes on and on and on, and then you got this big hunk of brass to go from one thing to another. And it gets very expensive. Sometimes you can look up and find exactly what you're looking for on eBay, but that's rare. The internet's kind of broken. It used to work a lot better than it does. So, what I did, the closest fitting to this is 5/16. Now, so I just got a 5/16 double-ended male hose barb, and I had some washing machine hoses that were laying around, and I cut the end off of one. It's a little bit too big for that 5/16 inch hose barb. So I cut a piece of this tubing that came with the compressor and put it over the end that's covered in here, and then actually pressed it in here first, and then I jammed the hose barb in there. It's such a tight fit. I probably don't need those hose clamps, but I went ahead and put them on there anyway. And when I do hose clamps, this is the way I like to do them. One pulling one way and the other one pulling the other way, which is redundancy, overkill. And the other reason I like to use two hose fittings on connections is because it's redundancy. I don't necessarily need both of them, but if I do need a particular size hose fitting, I know right where I can go steal one. And of course, this would hook up to the end of a hose or a spigot. And the reason I did this is because I'm getting one of these ready to put in my RV. Now, some of you guys know at RV sites, you generally have water and an electrical hookup. And the electrical hookups can be 50 amp, which is on 2 breakers. I think it's 230 amp breakers, 20 amp, and they have your standard 110, which is I think 15, and 30 amp. So you can get dog bones to, which are adapters to go down from any of those, or up in some cases. So I've already got a dog bone from 50 to 15, so I could just tie into that, and I wouldn't even have to worry about this thing tripping a breaker. in the middle of the night when I'm filling my bottles so as to not bother the neighbors. It's also really convenient at most campsites where you have a spigot not very far from your electrical hookup. So I've already got the hoses. I can just hook the hose directly up here, or to that rather, and then just constantly cycle water through the system, keeping the cylinders cool. Ronald, if you wouldn't mind posting those crazy low numbers of how cool your temperature stays on the pump, that would be awesome. So that should give me a good mobile air supply for air guns while I'm camping, on vacation, whatever. So next I want to talk about a product that you probably know about if you're into AR-15s and you get on those forums. So we're going to take a look at that. So the product is Moly grease, and you can find this online, or you can actually find it in automotive stores, but it's not really the same thing as the mil-spec grade Moly grease. And what people do is they'll buy this in a large quantity, and they will divvy it up in these small jars and sell it. And the reason for that is it's very expensive, the high quality mil-spec. The reason it's so expensive is that it's got a high content of molybdenum disulfide in it, and that's why it looks like used grease. And molybdenum di-tongue-tied is a very expensive mineral. And this stuff, the mil-spec stuff, is silicone based, so you don't have to worry about it dieseling on you. What the properties of the stuff are, it's slicker than owl shit, and it's got little particles in it. What they do is they embed themselves in the imperfections of a finished metal part, and it just kind of fills in all the holes. So it makes your parts very wear and gall resistant. A good application for this stuff would be, let's say, like in a worm gear system or something like that, or in gears in general. So yeah, very good product. And I imagine, I haven't done too much research on it, but if you see Moly grease in like these tubes that you can find in an automotive store, most likely, just guessing, that's going to be a petroleum-based product, so it would be prone to dieseling, and it's going to have a much lower content of molybdenum disulfide in it. And the last thing that I wanted to tell you guys that I was working on was for the new gun. If you've been following my channel for a long time, then you might know that I really don't like external battery packs. And I've always wanted to get away from that, but still have larger cells than 14500s because they just supply more amperage. What we're doing with the Superbird and the 14500s is, the best way I can think about it is we're compensating for the low amperage output with higher voltage, and that puts you right on the verge of destroying the main capacitor, actually both capacitors on Sergey's board. So I have used these batteries before, this size battery. This is an 18350, so it's basically half of an 18650, and I did use 6 of these in an 8K build for someone, and they work fine. It's a lot, they're a lot, they're probably half the weight of an 18650. And when you have 18650 packs powering your guns, you know, that adds a considerable amount of weight. And from my perspective, it's kind of like too much capacity, too much battery capacity, because if you only need to charge your battery pack, I don't know, once every 3 months, you're having to put up with this thing hanging off of your stock. You know, you got to think about like what outweighs the other. Now these batteries have the same capacity as the 14500s, but they can output higher amperage. So if we use, my theory is if we can get by with using 5 of these on the 5K boards, we can fit them into the buffer tube that we use. And what I've done with this one, this is just for a proof of concept, and I really hope it works. I took a stainless steel screw and I put it in here. So the head of the screw is on the inside of the tube to give me a little bit better contact point there. So when I put the screw in here, it broke through this, I'm not sure if this is an oxide layer or what it is, but it's bare metal on metal, aluminum on stainless steel, where the threads made their way through here. And so the idea is to have 5 of these in here like so. And you see that fits really nicely. And I am getting current all the way through here if I put a lead on the positive side and one on the bare metal there, even though these are not button cells. So the idea will be that you, whenever you need to charge your batteries, you just dump them out and charge them on a conventional lithium-ion battery charger, and you place them back in, and then you go to screw it into the receiver. When you screw it into the receiver, there's going to be a threaded hole in the side of it, somewhere here in these threads, and it'll line up with a hole in the frame. And on the outside of the frame, there's going to be a wire with a connector on it that goes over around the screw. So after you've gotten this lined up with the bolt hole, you're not going to have to worry about your stock being lined up, because it's going to be perfectly in alignment, and you're not necessarily going to need a castle nut here. So you'll have the same vertical alignment every time you screw it in and lock it down with the nut. Might even do it on the bottom there, not really sure, haven't figured that out yet. But then that's going to give you your negative connection, and here is what I'm working on to get the positive terminal up to the batteries. It'll be inside there. So that's going to be super awesome if that works out. It's something that I've been thinking about for a long time. All right, guys, have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll keep you up to date on this. Hopefully the rest of the parts will be here next week. No one has given me any money, and I didn't ask for any money up front. That's just kind of the way I am, because you know, there's all sorts of things that can happen. I've just seen so much vaporware in this, line of work. So many promises that never come through. So that's why we are. But if you don't watch my videos, you're kind of going to miss out on these first few. A few of you have said, yeah, I really, really want one. And I say, okay, well, just keep an eye on my videos to keep up to date on it. So I hope that you guys aren't upset with me if you're one of the ones who told me that you wanted one and to save you one, and I don't. But this is the first batch. Hopefully there'll be more. That's what I'm really pushing for, to have this thing be in full manufacturing. So that we'll have spare parts and this and that and the other. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough, and just in case you haven't told me you want one, you can hit me up at that email address, and I'm going to actually start to make a list. I apologize that I haven't done that already. Just send me an email and tell me to put your name on one, and I will. I think I'm going to wind up with six or seven. So it's going to be a very limited deal in the beginning. All right, guys, have a good weekend. I'll see y'all later.